happiness is a choice, not a result. I mean, we see quotes like that on Instagram all the time, right?
All the time.
And it usually feels like a bumper sticker. Easy to say, impossible to live, and frankly, a little insulting if you're actually having a bad time.
Right. But when you start to stack Ralph Marston's writing against the other sources we have today, that sentence stops being, cliche. It starts looking more like a technical manual.
It really does.
And Marston, he takes the safety off immediately. He writes, "Nothing will make you happy until you choose to be happy. No person will make you happy unless you decide to be happy."
Which is a pretty terrifying concept if you actually sit with it for a minute.
It is.
Hmm.
Because if happiness doesn't come to you, if it can only come from you, then you sort of lose the right to blame your context.
Yeah, you can't blame the traffic, the economy, your boss.
It completely removes the "I'll be happy when"
I'll be
narrative.
happy when I get the promotion or when the weekend gets here.
When I finally go on vacation.
Right.
That narrative places your emotional state in the hands of external events.
And that's what we're getting into.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The radical premise we're exploring in this deep dive, what we're calling the architecture of joy, is about shifting that locus of control entirely inward.
Let's just clarify that term for a second, locus of control, because it pops up in psychology a lot.
Sure. It's the degree to which you believe that you, as opposed to external forces, have control over the outcome of events in your life.
So internal versus external.
An external locus of control means you believe life happens to you. An internal locus of control means you believe you make life happen.
Got it.
And look, we aren't talking about toxic positivity here.
Yeah.
We aren't suggesting you just, smile while your house burns down.
No.
We're talking about building a structural capacity for joy that exists independent of the fire.
That distinction is so crucial. Architecture implies design. It implies engineering. It's not some mood that floats by like a cloud. It's a building you construct brick by brick. And we have a fascinating stack of blueprints for this today. We've got everything from strength training standards to the centipede's dilemma, and we're going to explain why most people burn out even when they're trying to fix their happiness.
It's a comprehensive look at human mechanics. So, okay, let's go back to that Marston challenge. No person will make you happy unless you decide to be happy.
It feels like a catch-22, doesn't it? I mean, if I'm miserable, how do I just decide otherwise? It sounds like telling a drowning person to just decide to be dry.
That's where the Raveling reframe comes in. This is from George Raveling. He argues that the problem is we think the choice is between happiness and misery.
Which seems like the logical binary. You're either happy or you're sad.
But Raveling says that's too low a bar. He suggests the daily choice shouldn't be between happy and sad. It should be between happy and very happy.
That sounds almost arrogant. Like, who are you to be very happy on a Monday morning?
It's a psychological trick, though. It shifts the baseline. If you wake up deciding the worst you're going to feel is happy, you eliminate the option of waiting to see how the day goes.
So you're not negotiating if you're going to be okay.
You're just negotiating the degree of joy you're permitting yourself.
It reminds me of that Joseph Campbell line, if you're going to have a story, have a big story, or none at all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Campbell is talking about narrative scope.
Yeah.
Most people live in a story of quiet desperation. That's the default setting. Campbell and Raveling are arguing for a story of chosen vitality. They're saying the middle ground, the just getting by, the I'm fine. It isn't worth the cost of admission.
But to choose that big story, you have to be incredibly independent. You can't be waiting for a co-author to come write the good parts for you.
And that brings us to Anthony DeMello. He has this parable about a disciple and a master. The disciple is constantly praying, constantly leaning on God for every little thing.
Okay.
And the master asks him, when will you stop leaning on God and stand on your own 2 feet?
That's a shocking thing for a spiritual teacher to say. Usually the instruction is to lean more, right?
Yeah.
Surrender and all that.
The disciple is shocked, too. He says, but you taught us to look on God as a father. And the master's reply, this is the key to emotional maturity.
What does he say?
He says, when will you learn that a father isn't someone you can lean on, but someone who rids you of your tendency to lean?
Wow. That completely flips the script on dependency.
It does. DeMello is arguing that true maturity, spiritual or emotional, is recognizing that happiness cannot be outsourced. Not to your partner, not to your boss, not even to the divine in a way that creates helplessness.
Yeah.
You have to stand up.
Okay, so let's say we buy into this, we stand up, we choose very happy, we take the reins. But here's the friction point, and I think every listener has felt this. If it's just a choice, why are we so tired? Why do we burn out trying to maintain a good attitude?
This is where the architecture part really, really matters. We usually assume burnout is a result of doing too much. We think the tank is empty because we drove too far.
Right.
But Jim Kwik offers a different theory. He suggests we burn out because we aren't doing enough of the things that nourish and enrich and invigorate us.
So I'm not tired because I work 10 hours. I'm tired because none of those 10 hours actually fed me.
Precisely. Think about it. You can spend 10 hours doing something you love. Maybe it's painting or coding a passion project or hiking, and you come home physically exhausted but mentally buzzing.
Totally.
But you spend 2 hours in a meeting where you feel unheard and useless, and you're just wiped out.
It's the quality of the energy expenditure.
You cannot willpower your way to sustain joy if you are starving yourself of what makes you come alive. It's an energy equation. Carlos Castaneda put it perfectly. He said, either we make ourselves miserable or we make ourselves strong. The amount of work is the same.
That's a sobering thought. That misery is actually active work.
It is. Worrying takes energy. Resentment takes energy. Complaining takes a massive amount of caloric energy. You are spending the fuel anyway. The question is, does that energy flow toward a drain or into an engine?
There's that quote from Martha Stewart in the notes. And, putting aside her public persona, look at the mechanic she's describing. She said, I love the challenge of starting at zero every day and seeing how much I can accomplish. Some people hear that and they just hear workaholic. But look closer. She isn't white-knuckling it. She finds the work itself invigorating. The challenge doesn't deplete her. It generates energy for her.
So that's the difference.
That is the difference between choosing happiness as a grim obligation, I must be happy today, versus choosing it as a living practice.
So the directive here isn't to rest more necessarily, it's to feel more.
Yes. We often numb out to avoid disappointment. We try to protect ourselves by not caring too much. But the architecture of joy demands that you open yourself up to the invigoration of the work. You have to let yourself be enriched.
However, there is a trap here. I can see it already. We can get so caught up in analyzing, am I happy enough? Am I doing this right? Is this nourishing me? That we just freeze up.
The trap of overthinking. This is the centipede's dilemma. I love this story. So a beetle asks the centipede, hey, with 100 legs, how do you know which one to move first?
And the centipede stops to think about it. He tries to analyze the mechanics of his own walking. He's thinking, okay, leg 34 goes, then leg 7. And he ends up in a ditch, completely unable to move.
Because he analyzed a natural flow right out of existence.
Analysis paralysis. It destroys natural action. You could overthink the choice to be happy until the doing just falls apart. Peter Ralston warns us about this. He says, do not focus on the result, as that serves to distract us from the process.
So if I'm fixated on I must be very happy right now, I'm actually making myself miserable.
Correct. It's the paradox of pursuit. The joy has to be found in the execution, in the practice itself. Ralston says, perfect shots don't mean perfect outcomes. You could do everything right and still have a bad day. But if the practice itself nourishes you, the outcome is secondary. You're finding joy in the step, not the destination.
This links to that paradoxical Spanish phrase we found, despacio voy porque deprisa estoy.
I go slowly because I'm in a hurry.
Which sounds completely backward in a culture that worships speed. We think if we're in a hurry, we should sprint.
But look at what sprinting does if you aren't ready. It leads to mistakes, injuries, burnout. It's the paradox of slowness. Speed comes from patience.
Okay, unpack that.
If you rush through your nourishment, if you shovel food in your mouth without tasting it, or rush through a book just to finish it, you guarantee burnout. You get no energy from it.
So the person who moves deliberately creates space for rejuvenation, which actually lets them go further in the long run.
Exactly. It's the difference between panic and preparation. There's that proverb, dig the well before you're thirsty.
That is the core of the practice right there.
You cannot choose happiness in a crisis if you haven't practiced it in the ordinary moments.
Yeah.
If you haven't built the muscle on a random Tuesday afternoon when nothing much is happening, you won't have the strength when tragedy strikes.
Naval Ravikant says, the most important relationship you have is with yourself. If you aren't digging that well daily, when the drought comes, and it always comes, you're just empty. You're trying to dig through bedrock while you're dying of thirst.
And this isn't just a mental game. We have to pivot to the physical side because the architecture involves the body too.
Right.
You can't build a skyscraper on a swamp.
Right. The body and mind are not separate entities. In the source stack, we have Dan John, the strength coach. He has these universal strength standards. And honestly, reading them, they are a little intimidating.
They are. He says, to be considered universally strong, you should be able to clean and press your body weight for 1 rep and snatch your body weight for 1 rep.
For the non-gym rats listening, picking up your own body weight off the floor and putting it over your head is not casual.
Yeah.
Why is this specific physical standard relevant to happiness?
It's the metaphor of carrying your own load. It's literal independence. But more importantly, heavy lifting teaches the nervous system how to handle stress.
Yes.
When you are under a heavy bar, you cannot panic. If you panic, you get hurt. You have to breathe, organize your structure, and push. That is the exact same mechanism required for emotional resilience.
It builds you up rather than tearing you down. It proves to your brain that you can handle pressure.
If done right, yes. And that connects to Wim Hof. His method is famous for the ice baths, but the philosophy is all about that mind-body connection. He says, the feeling of accomplishing the task comes prior to actually doing it.
How does the feeling come before the doing? That feels like time travel.
Through visualization and will. Whether it's facing freezing water or a difficult conversation, you imagine the steps vividly. You embrace the fear beforehand. You let the fear dissipate through your resolve. By the time you actually step into the ice or step into the meeting, you've already won internally.
You're generating the state of success before reality even catches up.
And that is a form of nourishment. It's not just grinding. It's entering the arena already victorious in your mind. You are hoping to survive.
Yeah.
You are intending to thrive.
Yeah. This leads us to what was, for me, the most challenging part of the research. Because everything we've talked about so far is internal. Standing on your own feet, digging your own well. But what about the people watching us? Specifically, our kids, our teams, the people we lead.
This is the transmission. And according to Austin Kleon and Ryan Holiday, this is the hardest truth of parenting or leadership.
Kleon says, you have to be the kind of human being you want your children to be.
It sounds so simple, but think about the implications. You can't tell your kids to read if you're just scrolling on your phone. You can't tell them to be emotionally regulated if you're screaming at traffic.
You can't tell your employees to have work-life balance if you're emailing them at midnight.
Exactly. Ryan Holiday points out the gap. The dicho el hecho hay gran trecho. From saying to doing is a long stretch.
A very long.
If you sacrifice yourself, if you make yourself miserable to provide for your family, you are teaching them that love equals martyrdom. You are teaching them that adulthood is synonymous with exhaustion.
So if you want them to live a life of chosen vitality,
They have to see you living it first.
Tony Dungy had a great example of this with Andy Pettitte, the Yankees pitcher.
Right. Pettitte influenced the young players not by lecturing them in the locker room. He didn't sit them down for a PowerPoint on success. He modeled big league habits under pressure. He showed them what sustainable excellence looked like. He didn't say it. He embodied it.
It circles back to that bold biblical reference where Paul says, imitate me just as I imitate Christ.
Imagine having the confidence to say that to your employees or your kids. Just do exactly what I do, handle stress exactly how I handle it, and you'll be fine. Most of us would be terrified to offer that invitation.
Because we know our internal architecture is shaky. We know we're faking it half the time.
Exactly. But that is the standard. You cannot bring happiness to others if you are running on empty. One who brings happiness to others will find it? Yes, but you can't give what you don't have. If your well is dry, you have nothing to offer.
So taking care of yourself, choosing very happy, it isn't selfish.
It's the only way to be a valid model for anyone else.
So we need to keep this machine running. We need to cultivate this mindset because the default world will always try to tear it down. We found a framework from The Magic of Thinking Big on how to harness ideas to sustain this.
Yes, this is an intellectual pursuit as well as an emotional one.
Yeah.
You have to feed the mind. The framework has 4 steps.
Okay.
1, write down new ideas. Don't let them just float away. 2, review them regularly. 3, cultivate and fertilize them. Investigate the angles, think about them. And 4, polish them until they are saleable.
Saleable is the interesting word there. Who are we selling them to?
Yourself.
Yeah.
In this context, saleable means embodied. You have to sell the idea to yourself first. If you have this idea of the architecture of joy, but you haven't polished it, haven't figured out how it applies to your 9:00 a.m. meeting with the client you hate,
You won't buy it.
you won't buy it. And if you don't buy it, you won't live it.
Marcus Aurelius adds to this. Wisdom is an endless pursuit. Even in old age, learning nourishes. A mind that only feeds on its own old thoughts is undernourished.
You have to keep bringing in new material to burn. You have to stay curious. The moment you think you've figured it all out, the architecture starts to crumble.
And there was one final piece of advice that I think gives us permission to actually start. Because all of this high standard stuff lifting body weight, choosing very happy, it can feel overwhelming.
It can.
The advice is to find success, set the bar low.
I love this. And it sounds like a complete contradiction to Dan John's lift your body weight. But set the bar low doesn't mean low ambition. It means a low barrier to entry.
Make it easy to start.
Today won't be perfect. The conditions won't be ideal. You might not feel very happy right now. Accept that. Set the bar for entry low enough that you actually take action. Don't let perfectionism paralyze you like the centipede.
Yeah.
Just move one leg.
So let's look at this architecture as a whole. We've got the foundation, standing on your own 2 feet, realizing no one else can make you happy.
We've got the choice. Happy or very happy. No middle ground.
We've got the fuel, doing what nourishes you, engaging with the challenge rather than hiding from it.
We've got the warning. Don't overthink the process. Just move.
And we have the responsibility. Model it, because people are watching what you do, not listening to what you say.
The inheritance we lead isn't our advice. It's our example. It's the life we actually lived in front of them.
It brings us to the final thought. We talk about spreading the good word, but in this context, the word isn't something you speak. It's something you are.
Right. What is the word your life is broadcasting? Is it delighted? Is it invigorated? Or is it depleted and fine?
Fine is the enemy here. Fine is the absence of the big story.
The goal is to embody very happy. And remember, that doesn't mean nothing bad ever happens. It means you are meeting the challenge with a full well. You are digging the well before you're thirsty so that you have the resources to meet life with vitality.
So ask yourself the question right now, will I be happy or will I be very happy?
The amount of work is the same. You might as well choose the one that makes you strong.
Start digging your well. Thanks for diving in with us.
Take care.